Okay, so we have Morel in the house, and we have Shadrach.
Okay, so yes, we are.
Okay,
yes,
so
we are three in the room, so
I'll step out then.
Okay.
All the best. Enjoy the session.
All right. Thank you.
Shadrach.
Yes, Maria.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. How are you and the family?
Oh Lord Jesus.
Everyone is fine.
I'm trying to be good.
Okay. I saw your message that your daughter will be Joshua also.
Yes. Because it was her school time.
Yeah.
And that I will no. I did not be able to take her to school.
Hello, Mr. Barrack. Is it possible that we make you a co-host of the session since you are the moderator?
Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues from wherever you're joining this call. 3 minutes so that we can allow colleagues who are joining from the other sessions to join us. Welcome to kick off the session.
Barrack, we don't hear you. Maybe there's some.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? I can see some colleagues say there's no sound.
Yes, now.
Yes, now it's okay.
Good morning.
Morning, Barrack.
This opportunity to welcome on ccTLDs. Good morning. All right. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to this session on ccTLDs and internet governance in Africa. I'm glad to see Adu. I'm going to take this opportunity to recognize, first of all, the presence of the AFTLD chair, Mr. Alihaji Madi, who is going to make a few comments of the MAD chair. Andrew Miu will certainly give you an opportunity to speak. I also want to recognize the presence of Josephine Rakoto. I can see Joel Karubio from Kenik. Welcome on board, and also our members from the different ccTLDs and our partners from the Internet Corporation for assignments and numbers. Without further ado, I would like to AFTLD President Alihaji Madi to make some opening remarks, and then I will also give the floor to the MAD chair.
Thank you, Barrack, but your sound is not good. Do you hear me, please, Barrack? Hello? Do you hear me, please?
I can hear you, Ali, but I know if the others can hear you. Already.
It is clear. This is Makan from
right.
African Agent.
But Barrack have some issues.
Oh, I think he has some issues. Then
Yes.
If okay. Dear participants, good morning, good afternoon, where you are. Welcome to workshop number 9 on ccTLDs and internet governance in Africa. Africa Top-Level Domain Organization is happy to facilitate this conversation and bring together ccTLDs and the stakeholders from the internet ecosystem to discuss this important topic. Country code top-level domain registries have over the years played a very important role in establishment and maintenance of the Internet Governance Forum at national, sub-regional, and continental levels in Africa. Over the years, country code top-level domain registries either sponsored or hosted Internet Governance Forum in most countries in Africa that have a national or regional Internet Governance initiative. With the entry of new players into the Internet Governance arena and emergence of rights-based consent as opposed to infrastructure and access-related issues, the role of country code top-level domain registries has become vague. This roundtable seeks to examine whether country code top-level domain registries are still relevant in the internet governance ecosystem in Africa and what their current role is. The roundtable will seek to answer the following questions. First one, are country code top-level domain registries in Africa relevant in the internet governance ecosystem? Second one, What is the role of country code top-level domain registries in the evolving internet governance ecosystem in Africa? This is two questions that we will have our discuss, but I would like to personally invite you, if time allows, to get a look in the impact of the new ccTLD program launched 8 years ago in the development of ccTLDs. We worried that this program would slow down the development of some ccTLDs already have difficulty to maintain themselves. Thank you very much and have a good session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Barrack, you asked me to make just a few remarks. Good morning, everyone. Henriette Esterhuizen here from South Africa. I'm going to switch my camera off. I am the chair of the Global Internet Governance Forum's multi-stakeholder advisory group. And in that capacity, I really want to thank all of you who participated in the Global IGF as volunteers, as hosts, as speakers, as people who provided input and guidance, and as participants. But Barrack, I'm here today also in my capacity as a member of the board of ZADNA, the South African Domain Name Authority. And it is an honor to be here in that capacity. Personally, I believe that ccTLDs are vitally important. So I look forward to this session and congratulate you and AFTLD for convening it.
Thank you very much, Henriette. It's an honor to have you in your capacity as the MAG chair of the Internet Governance Forum and also in your capacity as a board member of the .ZA Domain Name Authority in this session. I also see Makan, who is the coordinator of the Africa Internet Governance Forum. I would like to also thank you for honoring us. Makan, you have the floor.
Good morning, everybody. Bonjour de Dakar. I'm pleased to be joining you early morning from Dakar. On behalf of the African Union and of the African IGF Secretariat, I congratulate Barrack and the other organizers for setting up this session, which is of very dear importance to Africa, because we have witnessed the past years several problems of ccTLDs to countries, and I believe that I've seen also Yaovi here, and I hope Yaovi can also shed light on the issues which are ongoing between countries and some people who are handling ccTLDs from African countries. I witnessed a discussion yesterday also about the use of ccTLDs in personal names and so on. And the discussion which was sent by Emmanuel Vitus in the AfriSIC discussion list, I believe will find a solution today from the discussions will be coming up here. Again, I thank you for organizing this session and wish you a successful development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Makan. We also have Yaovi, the director for operations for the ICANN Global Stakeholder Engagement Team in Africa. Yaovi, thank you for honoring us by attending this session, and I would like to give you the floor. I know Bob is also on the call and is going to intervene much later, but you can make a few remarks on behalf of ICANN as our partner.
Oh, thank you so much, AFTLD and Africa IGF, and also the MAG for inviting us to this session. I know we have only 60 minutes, so just to congratulate all of you, and I hope that we all contribute to a vibrant ccTLD environment in Africa. I'll have time to share more, but I'm glad that we have this session. So thank you, and I hope we'll have a good discussion.
Thank you very much, Yaobi, for those quick remarks. I think without further ado, I would like to start the conversation. The AFTLD president has actually set the scene for us. Over the years, country code top-level domain registries have played a critical role in either establishment of internet governance forums within our nations, or within our sub-regions, or even at continental level. However, in the recent past, we have seen conversations within the Internet Governance Forum shifting mostly towards right-based issues and less on infrastructure-related issues. Hence the question as to whether a country code top-level domain registries in Africa are still relevant in the Internet governance ecosystem, and if so, what is the role of the country code top-level domain registries in the evolving internet governance ecosystem in Africa? So how we are going to tackle this conversation, we have a team, or and to start us off will be Dr. Alex Kohantha.
Morning.
Dr. Alex, you can take the floor, and afterwards we will have Wafa.
Thank you.
Who is an outgoing reflect on the same.
Hi all, and very nice to have you and to see you on the net. I'm talking from Dakar. Hope we are safe on this specific issue of pandemic. I switch off my camera. Just to thanks Barrack for the opportunity to talking about global at the global level about the ccNSO initiative, which have a specific working group dealing with internet governance, which is IGLC, Internet Governance Liaison Committee, which is set up in 2019 and chaired by Pierre Bonis from .fr registry. What is very important, but we need to have more people joining this group, because it's dealing with the internet governance issues in connection with the ccTLD works at the local level. And what is the main interest of this? Because ccNSO has noticed that for many years, country code top level domain manager have been fully engaged in conversation and contribution to the work of internet governance related matters. To bring this engagement at an upper level, the ccNSO created the Internet Governance Liaison Committee with some specific term of reference. The committee take an active role in coordinating and facilitating the participation and input of ccTLD managers in IG-related discussion and processes. The work of the working groups is dealing with some topics that are very important in my point of view, and it was important that more people come to join this working group, because we want to launch, I think, next on this month, call for more participation on these working groups. At the Icon 69 in 14th of October, we have a meeting, a session, when we talk about digital sovereignty. digital sovereignty on the internet is something very relevant, I think, in our countries and is relevant in Africa, and is also relevant when we look about the main things happening in this pandemic times, where we need to be more what to say, where the people say know that the ccTLDs and the registries have a big input about the resiliencies of our communities. Just to give you the topics that we are engaged to discuss on the next session of the IGLC. We choose to have 8 relevant topics that we will want to discuss for the next sessions. And these topics are cybersecurity. And we want to talk also about capacity building and inclusion, to talk also about digital divide, international domain names, local contents, which is very important at the African point of view, regulation, because we know that some issues are in some specific countries dealing with the regulation of the sector. Role of ccTLD also, to make it increasing role of the ccTLD are promoters of the IGF dialogues, and also talking about the technical issues. I just want to send an appeal of all the people who on this session to take part of this important and make a contribution at the African level more important. This can be, I think, taken in account by IFTLD EXCOM. So for the next year, we have more people engaged in this discussion and more input at the IGLC, and also more input at the IGF, the IGF discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alex, for that reflection as a member of the Internet Governance Committee. Also give Wafa the floor, who is a member of the Africa Top Level Domain Executive Committee. Wafa, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Barrack. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you and to share some thoughts about this important subjects, our ccTLD registries, of course, in Africa. So, Barrack, I will try to tackle the 2 questions at the same time, but in order to speak about the role of the African ccTLD registries and if their role, if relevant or not, we have to consider that ccTLDs are, from my understanding, as considered as brokers between the global and the local dimensions of internet governance, and they are clearly identified stakeholders with responsibilities for representing the national level at the global. And the regulation and overall management of these African ccTLDs address, in my understanding, their national and political implication and how they have become the symbols of countries' market orientation. And as a result, African registry, they really play a role at the national level in the configuration of internet policies, and they interplay with other institutions that are also involved in their development and implementation. We can agree that registries are not only technical institutions, indeed, but they do have an impact on the internet development inside the country and contribute to economic growth, such as e-commerce approaches and domain name industry and social welfare by creating a local and diverse content. In my conclusions, ccTLD registries in Africa have an important role in shaping the internet governance ecosystem through the configuration of internet policies and their impact on internet development in countries, either in the economic dimension or on social dimension. But do they really play this role today? We need a clear study on that, because in my understanding, I can say, I can't respond to the question if they're relevant today in the internet governance ecosystem, but I can say that they have a big responsibility that they have to take and play their role as it should be. Since we want or no, they want or no, they influence the business model of and the governance model of ccTLDs, and they have an impact on the country market. If I can share with you some figures that were in the study of that made ICANN in the DNS market before in 2016, and these figures shows how important is the role of the ccTLDs in the DNS market. In 2016, the DNS market roughly equates to a total value of about $38 million per annum for African ccTLD names alone. 14, which is about 20%, 25% of this amount, are likely to occur to the international registers, and the remaining is coming from the local registrars' revenue. So you can see that they have a really important impact either in the market or in the social dimension by creating services, creating the local content, diverse content. They have a great role that they are playing today, but they have to take more responsibilities. We need to see what are the countries that are really where the registries are really playing their role as they should. It's not the case today because we have, for example, many of them they are outsourcing their TLDs, and I don't know if they're really governing their policies. So the role is important. If they're relevant or not, it is important, but if they are relevant, yes, they're relevant in the African internet governance ecosystem, but we don't know really if they're playing their role as they should today. We have to make a study, I think. Thank you, Barrack.
Thank you very much, Wafa, for that reflection that is setting the scene. Next, I'm going to call upon Bob Otieno, who is the Senior Stakeholder Engagement Manager, who has also been an instructor at the Africa School of Internet Governance and an active participant in many of the activities that AFTLD conducts for ccTLDs as well. Bob, would you reflect on the same question? And after you, I'm going to come to Henriette, again in her capacity as the chair of the MAG and also as a member of the board of ccTLD in Africa. Bob, please take the floor. After that, I want to request our audience to, this is a round table or an open discussion. So to speak, you raise your hand in the room and I will pick you in the order in which you raise your hand. Bob, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Barrack. You raise a very important question. I think this debate is wonderful and quite timely, and I think it will continue for a while. I think to put this into perspective, really, we must remind ourselves on what we mean by internet governance. Because when we ask ourselves whether ccTLDs have a role in internet governance, probably we need to remind ourselves what we are talking about when we talk about internet governance. And since Henriette is here, I'll limit myself to what came out of the 2Ds agenda in 2005. And what you see there is a working definition where there is a reference to different players involved in their respective roles. So if we want to look at participation in our respective roles, and players here are largely from governments to private sector to civil society. And within private sector at that time, that's where we had technical players like ccTLD operators, like ICANN and the rest. They were all lumped up as private sector. So in essence, the very fact that there is a reference to different stakeholders in their respective roles already gives ccTLDs, by extension, that responsibility. Indeed, they are quite relevant. The question is whether they are, doing or they are carrying their equal share of the weight. So it is important that we anchor that responsibility right from the definition of internet governance as we know it today. At the same time, it is always said that the internet is both global and local. And ccTLDs are very critical players at the local level. Without the local solutions, the local implementations of networks, of registries, there's no internet. So it takes the local action of these different players for us to realize the global network of networks. As we know, the internet is a network of networks. So yes, are ccTLDs relevant? At the very local level, they are very relevant. The third thing that I wanted us to point out as we look at this issue is if you open up the internet and its different players, what you will find are organizations, you will find individuals, you will find processes, you will find, in essence, very independent parts. And part of this is the DNS players, whose the key component or the key players around the DNS includes ccTLDs. So I'm just trying to say that ccTLDs are at the core of internet governance processes, and whether they have taken that responsibility actively to really make sure that their weight is visible and is felt in the different processes, be they not as technical as ccTLDs perceive their work to be only technical, they do have a role. And if that has not been happening, probably the question should be, to what extent or how best can they evolve to also be part of the non-technical discussions that are heavier today in internet governance fora. So yes, at the very core of it, ccTLDs are part and parcel as technical organizations, as critical players in the DNS industry, which is core in realizing the internet itself. And I believe that a lot now needs to be done in kind of a transformative way for ccTLDs to also embrace the non-technical discussions that are taking up a lot of space at the global internet discussion. Remember, that governance issues at the global level is equally at the local level. And maybe just to conclude by alluding to what Emmanuel addressed on the list, there has been a long-running debate on what is acceptable governance for a ccTLD. I want to point out to the participants today that there are largely three models that ccTLDs have adopted today. There is privately managed ccTLDs, completely private sector approach. There is multi-stakeholder public interest entity approach, and there is government kind of run approach. In 2006, there was a study by the OECD group, which was published. It is online. I can post the link here, which looked at these three main categories of governance models for ccTLDs in detail and came out with a set of observations. But critical observation that came out was that really none of those particular models is a favorite or works better than the other, as long as a particular model has been agreed by the stakeholders within that particular sovereign entity. So if Kenyans, for example, choose a multi-stakeholder model for the management of .ke and they embrace it, then .ke becomes a success. If Kenyans, on the other hand, decide that the government is the best entity to manage .ke, then .ke becomes a success. So it is what works for those particular stakeholders. And that is an internet governance issue. It is a governance issue. So I think, Barrack, I'll stop it there and hopefully join with further comments and participation as the discussion progresses. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bob. I am going to give the floor to Henriette. I see a number of ccTLD managers who have been supporting internet governance initiatives at local level, and I will certainly call upon them to just tell us why do they support internet governance initiatives at a local level or at a sub-regional level, and also their thoughts on the two questions that we have raised in the room. In the meantime, Henriette, you have the floor.
Thanks, Barrack. And I wasn't expecting to share this, but I appreciate the opportunity. I support everything that Bob said. And I'm going to switch off my camera because I know that most of us struggle with poor connectivity. And I think ccTLDs play an incredibly important role. They are a mirror of the demand side of what's happening around the internet in a country. They reflect how much local content there is. So I want to actually mention 3 Ds. Firstly, diversity. The ccTLD and the number of registrations at the ccTLD gives one a sense of how diverse and dynamic the internet industry is at country level. Then I want to talk about development. I think ccTLDs can play a really important role in developing the internet, because they are, in a sense, no matter what the model is, if it's a government model or a multi-stakeholder model or a hybrid model, they bring together people involved in internet industry, both at the infrastructure level, as well as at the use of the internet in business and service delivery, public sector delivery, and as well as at the level of just internet governance. And then finally, data. I think ccTLDs are sources of information that can be used to develop the internet, to ensure that there's fairness and affordability. And speaking now in my ZADNA capacity, we, for example, don't actually understand what real retail prices are, because most resellers of .za domains sell packages. They sell a domain along with so many email addresses, sometimes with storage capacity as well. So in fact, we don't actually have good information about what the actual end user prices are. And I think there's a role here for registries and for ccTLDs to be more conscious about how they document their services, how they document what resellers do, how they gather that information and then put it back in the public domain. And you see a country where there is a really good example of how this happens is Brazil, where nick.br is in fact financing a lot of the even end user research on what people are doing with the internet, what kind of content is being created. And I think ccTLDs really can be at the heart of national internet industry development. And then before I leave, I just want to show one example that came to my attention recently. Unfortunately, it's from New Zealand, but I thought it's a really good illustration of how a ccTLD can play a role to bring a country together, different actors, including government. And this was the Internet NZ, the New Zealand ccTLD, developed this 5-point plan for digital inclusion, COVID-19 and beyond. And as you'll see, they brought together their stakeholders, their members, and they came up with this simple plan: connectivity, getting devices, wraparound support for newly connected, digital skills for displaced workers, and number 5, longer-term internet resilience. And they have since been working with this plan. They've been promoting it. They've been sending it to government, discussing it with government, discussing it with the private sector and civil society. And I think that's just a good example of the convener role that a ccTLD has, perhaps a bit like a national IGF, but a national IGF happens once a year, whereas a ccTLD is an institution that is there all the time. So that's all from me. I really think they have a vitally important role. I think they are struggling. I think not all ccTLDs in Africa are yet playing the role that they could. And that's why the work you are doing and this session is so important.
Thank you very much, Henriette, for raising or bringing to the fore the importance of ccTLDs as conveners at national level. Of course, Bob has highlighted the role of the different stakeholders. As we continue with this conversation, I would like you to also share in the chat room if you are unable to speak. I see a number of ccTLD leaders in the room, and I recognize the presence of Mohammed Rudman, the president of NIRA, which has been a key supporter of the Nigeria Internet Governance Forum. I don't know if Mr. Rudman, you want to weigh into this conversation, since I don't see anyone in the room who has raised their hands yet.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Mohammed,
Barrack.
we can hear you. Welcome.
Yes, okay. Thank you so much. My apologies. I joined in late and I've been on phone calls because I'm on the road heading towards another meeting. To be honest with you, this is a fantastic meeting, you know, bringing in all the ccTLDs regarding internet governance. As I think other speakers have mentioned, the critical role that ccTLDs play in internet governance, because we are managing the primary name servers for each of the countries we represent. And as you know, internet governance evolved just because of the management of those critical root servers. And so we are really critical, and considering that we are multi-stakeholder organization, we represent various constituencies, and some of us have large number of registrars, you know, from the community. So we are the key rallying point when it comes to internet governance in any country. So, and on that basis, as NIRA, you know, we have really collaborated to bring with all the various stakeholders to bring everyone on board, especially the key actors towards constituting the National Internet Governance Forum. And we have been facilitating that meeting. We are in fact the secretariat of the vAIGF in Nigeria, and we have played key role in that. As I'm moving, because I'm on the road, I don't know, I think I saw Edith here, the head of the secretariat of NIRA. In case I got broken up, she should continue. But I don't know, is there any particular area you want me to talk about? As I said, sorry, I joined the meeting really late.
Not really, Mohammed. We appreciate your input. You've more or less answered the question. This is a round table, so we are just getting feedback on whether ccTLDs still have a role in the national internet governance convening processes or ecosystem or not, and if that is the case, what their specific role is. And I think you have brought out the fact that NIRA hosts the Secretariat for the Nigeria Internet Governance Forum, which is a practical example or case of how country code top-level domain registries are contributing to national Internet Governance Forum processes. So thank you very much. Unless Edith would like to add something, because she's also on the floor. Edith, I give you the floor if you would wish to add a thing or two that the chair has left out. I see your message, Henriette. I will also give the floor to the chair of the .ZA Domain Name Authority to weigh into the conversation. Edith, if you can hear us.
Good morning, all. Good morning, Barrack. Well done for convening this session. The NIRA president has actually said it all. But at the same time, I would like to add that the ccTLDs for each country actually do regulate how the domain names are registered in their locality. So they are very, very relevant to the sovereignty of each nation. And they contribute a lot because they're the people on ground. They understand their local politics. They understand the people of their own nation. So they are very relevant in the scheme of things. I hope this has contributed a little bit to the discussion. Well done, Barrack.
Thank you very much, Edith. Palisa, welcome. Colleagues, Palisa is the chair of the .ZA Domain Name Authority. And of course, ZA is one of the best practices across the African continent. Palisa, you have the floor if you may want to add to anything that Henriette had not mentioned in her earlier contribution.
Thank you very much, Barrack, and good morning to everybody. My apologies, I actually had a few things to do this morning, so I joined a bit late, so I just joined. I don't know how much has Andrea said in terms of how what is happening in South Africa in terms of internet governance and you know all of that. But Zedna, I think when there was a white policy paper that was published by the government, and in that document it was indicated that Zedna was mandated to actually be the secretariat of the South African Internet Governance Forum. This because I think you need to have a balancing act in terms of how you deal with internet governance issues, because my take is that internet governance, like we all know, it's a multi-stakeholder type of a setup. So you need to have an entity like Zedna that is independent to actually be the one that facilitates, because you don't want to have just the government being the facilitator, where you might end up, you risk having one side speaking and not having other parties being involved. So I think that's one aspect that made it is Zedna an easier entity to actually put this at, to say that this is how we'll move forward. Having said that, though, we haven't really moved much in terms of how we have, I think the last time we didn't have an internet governance forum this year because of COVID, but hopefully before the end of the year or early next year, we would have one. So I don't know how much did Henriette says. I think I came in when she was talking about how, in terms of retail pricing and wholesale pricing, that we do not know, how much people are charging and all of that. The registrars are charging, and I think that is key, because when you talk about wanting people to come into the sector, when you say that you want domain names and the internet to be accessible, it means it has to be affordable. And the way that it's been done in South Africa is that you have a package that you pay for. And we as the regulator, we do not know how much, and we do not regulate that price. But we are hoping that before end of 2021, we will be in a position to actually regulate that price, to ensure that there's fairness in how this pricing is done. Because we are in the process of finalizing the registry regulations at Zedna, because that was supposed to have happened a long time ago, but that didn't happen. Thank you, Barrack. I don't know, it's just that when you come into a meeting at the latter stage, you don't know what you've missed and what you need to say, but thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for the contribution, Palisa. You've actually added value to the conversation, even though Henriette had also set the scene very well for us previously. I'm coming down to the newest ccTLD.ss. I can see Stephen on the call, and I'm also seeing Joel Karobio, the CEO of the Kenya Network Information Center, which has supported the Kenya Internet Governance Forum from the very beginning. I'm going to come to them, but before that, I would like to give the floor to Yaovi Atohun, the Director for Operations at the Internet Corporation, and assign names and numbers to reflect on the same two questions as one of the leaders who has been supporting the internet governance movement on the continent for many years. Yaovi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Barrack. I see we are having a good discussion, and also I can see a good participation in this session. This is showing also, again, a confirmation of the role to answer the question that we have today, the registry in Africa, the relevance of their role in the governance, internet governance on the continent. And it's important to see that this is happening in many countries today. And we have an example where the ccTLDs are really supporting, playing an important role when it's time to have this forum, internet governance, or have debate at the national level. And seeing a session for AFTLD in this Africa internet governance is also a sign, a demonstration that of that relevance of the role the ccTLDs registry in Africa. So I also noticed that we have been moving to a very good direction. From the discussion, we need to do more. But what I see is that many ccTLDs, now they are all themselves trying to occupy the space. We can see that in many countries through activities taken by ccTLD registry, the past years and the plan they have. So because it is important for them to play this role, to explain to people that even if you have like the new GTLD today, this space, this is not something showing like a barrier to the growth of the ccTLDs. So the ccTLDs are taking the lead in some countries to explain to people that they have to be very careful about what is the domain name. Like if they don't know today, the importance of the domain name for them, individual or legal entity, so they have to get this importance so that they move and get the domain names. So it is interesting to see that happening in Africa today. And as I can, what I want to make also as input as I can is that we need ccTLDs to play a more role. Not only the ccTLDs, the community. We have our database where we have information on ccTLDs. The public one, the wiz.ayana.org. When everyone goes there, wiz.ayana.org, we see sometimes that some information are not up to date. Just sometimes we are too busy. We are not able to put a correction on a phone number, like we change phone number. So sometimes we are not able to do the update. So it's just a call as an icon to the management of the ccTLDs to don't forget anytime we have these small changes to let us know, to keep contact with the team in Africa, so that it is easy, very easy for us to be in touch and get the appropriate information. This applies also to what we call the billing information. As you know, my colleague Bob mentioned, we have different agreements between the ccTLDs and the GTLDs. So the ccTLDs, some of them make a voluntary contribution. Sometimes we don't have the correct billing information in our database. So sometimes we forget at ccTLD to update all this information. So this is something very important, and I want to call us for this. For the governance itself, you see in our country today that because of COVID, for example, many activities, many services are going online. Most of the government in Africa, I think most of them, they are using the ccTLDs. I don't know how many government in the country are using are not using the ccTLDs because for services. So it's something we hear from Dr. Ailes. He mentioned digital sovereignty. So most of the countries today, all of, if not few of them, maybe most of them, they are using the ccTLDs. So it is very important for us, the role of the ccTLD registry. We have to be sure that anytime the population, the users, they want to use internet through the country code level domain name, they are able to get the services. So this shows the importance of the registry in Africa especially. We have a very important role. We have to be up all the time. So these are the thoughts I want to share now, and then especially for the community on this session today, we have to notice the importance of the ccTLD registry anytime we plan to have an internet governance forum. So these are the institutions like ccTLD registry we should talk to. We should be sure that they are part of the discussion because they are playing a very important role in the ecosystem. So I want to stop there, and if anything, we could add later. Thank you so much, Barrack.
Thank you, Yaovi, for those interesting and important comments. At this point, Stephen, I would like to give you the floor. .ss is the youngest ccTLD on the African continent, yet you have played a very important role in establishment of the South Sudan National Internet Governance Forum. Would you reflect on the two questions, Stephen? And then I will come to .ke as we wind up this session.
Yes, hello.
Yes, Stephen.
Yes.
Just coming back to you again, I was informing the audience that .ss is the youngest ccTLD in Africa, yet you have played a critical role in establishment of the South Sudan Internet Governance Forum. So could you reflect on what you perceive the role of country code top-level domain registries to be insofar as convening and support of the national internet governance processes is concerned?
All right, thank you for this good opportunity. I also would like to recognize the presence of everyone on this very important session. Just for the record, my name is Ongwech Stephen from South Sudan. I've been like you can say, the SS like as a project that I've been running from the beginning until it is completion. Now we have the SS running. In regard to the Internet Governance Forum, relevance or relation to the .ss or to the ccTLDs in Africa, I believe that ccTLDs are very relevant or very close to the Internet Governance Forum, as some of my colleagues have mentioned that a ccTLD or a .ss is a resource that is to be managed for the benefit or for the use of the population in a particular country. So since it is to be managed, it comes under the internet governance, or like it is to be governed. So how it is governed, it depends on the particular, particular model in each country. So in the case of South Sudan, we opt for a multi-stakeholder model that we are developing. So for the record also, currently the ccTLD is managed under the regulator, that is the South Sudan National Communication Authority. So we hosted the registry. We actually developed the registry, and we are in process of, setting up the multi-stakeholder model for it, where the stakeholders from the internet community can participate in governing the ccTLD itself. So far, I've been personally engaged with the Internet Governance Forum. We have supported the Internet Governance Forum from the registry, and you can say from the regulator, the NCA itself. I've been the co-founder myself in the South Sudan Internet Governance Forum, which we have established in 2017. So I believe we have been very instrumental in setting up the South Sudan Internet Governance Forum. We have supported it both morally and even financially, so that we see the Internet Governance Forums come into fruition in South Sudan. Currently, this Internet Governance Forum is an independent body governed by the Internet Society, or you can say the Internet community in South Sudan. And the registry is always in full support of such initiative. As I have mentioned also, I'm part of the, you can say, board of the trustees for the South Sudan Internet Governance Forum. So I think this example shows how important and how interrelated a ccTLD to Internet Governance Forum in each respective country or in the region. This is all I can say for now, and thank you again.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Last but not least, as we conclude, I will request Joel Karobio, the CEO of Kenya Network Information Center, to make some reflections, and then I will give the floor as we conclude to Dr. Nyambura, who is the head of Policy and Regulatory Initiative for Digital Africa, who are trying to ensure that every country in Africa has an internet governance forum, to make some remarks as we conclude. We'll conclude with a statement from the AFTLD chair once again. Joel, if you can hear us.
Barrack and team, good afternoon or good morning, good evening. Thank you for giving us a few minutes just to reflect on this. First, obviously, as you mentioned and other members have mentioned, is the fact that KENIC in Kenya is a key stakeholder within the IGF. And we believe that as a ccTLD, and in reflection to the two questions today, is that we play a very important part and are very relevant within the IGF and generally internet conversation. I think for Kenya, we are privileged that for every policy or every conversation that the ministry and our regulator have, they always involve us to get our views and see where we can add value towards the conversation, which just means that we are a stakeholder that is recognized and ensure that our comments are there. Obviously, as we all know, being domain names being the gateway to the internet, then such conversations should never go on without our ccTLDs across the world having some pointers to bring into that place. My colleague from South Africa mentioned something very interesting around our model, which is the 3R models, registry, registrant, registrant, and the aspect of end user pricing. And I think that's something that we need to throw the cat amongst the pigeons and discuss, obviously, as we go along, because then at the tail end of the conversation, we see our registrants thinking or having a perception that pricing is expensive of domains, and especially ccTLDs versus generic domains. And I think that that's a conversation we need to unpack as we go along, because then as registries, I know our pricing is very fair, but then the end user gets a different pricing because there are other things loaded onto the domain pricing that is there. The other comment I'd like to make about regulation, and I think Yovi has mentioned this, is about data. It is something that we need, again, to continuously converse. Our WHOIS platforms are not the cleanest. We don't have enough data, or the data is not correct. So then you find that when you have a dispute, for example, then you actually can't even find the registrant who you want to discuss the dispute with. So cleaning up of WHOIS and the WHOIS data is something that I think within the governance conversation needs to be held a bit better. I don't know what other actions we can take, because then the internet has grown. It is now more open and more people are engaging with it, but we don't know who these people are engaging. So we had a bit more data and a bit more around the WHOIS and a clean WHOIS. Maybe those are things that we would look at it. But just in summary, ccTLDs, I think, within the internet ecosystem are key. They can never be forgotten, and they need to be always in the conversations and at the table whenever we are having any of these conversations. So thank you, Barrack, for the few minutes. And I hope we can continue this very worthwhile conversation just to ensure that ccTLDs are at the table in every internet governance conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joel. Before we conclude, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Nyambura. Dr. Nyambura, if you can hear us, maybe you can make a few remarks on behalf of the Africa Union and PRIDA, which is a key player in this space. And we are grateful also for this opportunity to contribute to internet governance processes in Africa. Dr. Nyambura,
Thank
you have the floor.
Thank you, Barrack, and greetings to all of you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you a little bit about PRIDA. And PRIDA is Policy and Regulation Initiative for Digital Africa. And as you have said, it is an initiative of the African Union Commission, the European Union, and the International Telecommunication Union. And one of our key objectives is to assist African countries, for those who do not have a national IGF and a school of IG, to work with them to establish these institutions or forums, but then also to strengthen the regional IGFs and to work with the continental IGF, which is the secretariat is with the African Union Commission. For the year 2020, we have supported 9 countries to start their first school of IG, and we have supported 4 to conduct their first national IGFs. We are still hoping that the 10 we had projected to support in 2020, we will still be able to support them to do the School of IG and to do the IGF. We have been working with the regional initiatives to ensure that the regional IGFs, they are anchored within the economic communities within the region for South Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, North Africa and West Africa. And that is one of the key things we would want to do in 2021. It would be great to work with the ccTLDs because as it has been said in this forum, they are a key partner in ensuring that internet governance is for everybody. And we will work with you, and we are glad, Barrack, we are part of the technical committee for PRIDA, and we'd want to hear some of these ideas from the ccTLD community so that we can all work together. And again, I take this opportunity to let you know during the pre-event session at 4, we'd want to hear key recommendations from this session and to see how best to work together in the future. Again, thank you very much and look forward to more collaborations. Over to you, Barrack.
Thank you, Dr. Nyambura. And last but not least, Ali Haji, the AFTLD president, if you're on the call, you can conclude the session for us.
Thank you, Barrack. Thank you, all of us participants in this session. It was an important session that helped us to understand the role of the ccTLD in internet governance. I think ccTLDs need a strong commitment to involve all stakeholders. This is what we will allow them to fully play their role in internet governance. It is clear if ccTLDs does want, for example, participate or organize a forum national or don't participate in a regional forum, there is a difficulty just to involve their role in the community. And on behalf of TLD and all members of TLD, I would thank you all participants in this good debate, and thank you very much, and keep in touch, and we can involve our internet, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending the session. See you in the other sessions in the Africa Internet Governance Forum, and have a good rest of the day or afternoon, depending on where you are. Goodbye.
Okay. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.